Part 78 of Don't Say Schwarzenegger. We are finally at the verdict in our 2021 civil trial, which ended up being the largest PTSD settlement of all time, which has not been paid, not one dime, in 3.5 years, and 3 of the defendants were the owners of a ton of Blaze pizzas, very, very wealthy, and somehow have dodged all accountability. And yeah, so let's get into it. So the jurors, they came to a decision, the very next day. So now we're at July 27th, 2021. It's Tuesday, and it took them 24 hours. I remember we found out that they had brought donuts, like for the judge and each other and everything, and I thought that was really sweet because, yeah, they just put in 3 weeks of a hellish 3 weeks of seeing the most horrific photos and videos and just trauma from top to bottom. So many tears. Grateful for them. Okay, calming down. So the judge pointed out, we start off and she's like pointing out a bunch of mistakes that our attorneys made on the forms to fix. And at this point, suddenly, Sean Driz from his table, he's looking at one of our attorneys and he yells, "Can you please stop staring at me? Have some respect." And the judge goes to Sean. She's like, "Grow up, just look at me." It's amazing. And then at this point, Maurice asks the judge, he's like, is it okay, if the defendants, can we choose the punitive damage number? Like, can you choose how much money you're gonna have seized? Like, what? And the answer is no, they can't do that. And then just a little info nugget that our attorney had mentioned to the judge that their firm just bought a new office downtown LA, which formerly belonged, they bought it from Girardi and Keese, which is Tom Girardi, as in Erica Jane from Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I think I had heard that they bought it for like $14 million cash or something. So I didn't know they were rolling in it like that. But I just thought it was an interesting little tidbit, especially because during the final day or two of court, when we were all gathered down in the hallway, like my friends, supporters, the plaintiffs, our attorneys, and I had been, this is actually before closing arguments, because I was still finding out information, giving it to my attorneys to give to the judge to be brought up as admissible evidence in court. And at one point we're in the hallway and my attorney had just come out of the judge's chambers and he had a look on his face, because it was clear that the judge was impressed with the evidence that he had just brought in, that I had given him. And he comes over to me and he was like, I can't say the actual, but he was like, "Wow, you're like Aaron effing Brockovich." And I had a response to that. I love that movie. We'll just say that much. And then he said something along the lines of, "You might have a place at our firm when this is all over," which is a very nice compliment because they're a very strong firm. But no, thank you. I'd rather go and heal and, who knows, start something on my own where I can help people in my own position, people that are going up against Goliaths, and that need help in all the ways, because I've seen everything at this point. So we were just waiting around. We weren't allowed to go home and wait because sometimes it could take days or weeks or, for a verdict. But the judge was like, "No, I think it'll be quick." And she was right the very next day. So waiting in the hallway, and I remember sitting there and somebody runs out and they were like, "The jury has a verdict." So before I tell you what happened next, so the jurors, I can't. The jurors came out. They sat down, and for the first time, we're all staring at them, we're staring at them. I remember this so much. We're sitting in the same spots we've been sitting for 3 weeks. Trying not to cry, because if I cry, I'm going to lose it. But I remember, even though I knew we had a winning case, it was obvious, not only what we brought to the table, but the defendants brought so much disrespect and contempt and misogyny and just horrific behavior to the courtroom that, they killed their own case, just on themselves. But there was still that thing in the back of my mind going, we've always had a strong case, but then look what happened at criminal. People were bribed, judges were removed after they witnessed the contempt and the disrespect, and the judge was like, "Oh, I'm going to throw the book at you," and that next thing you know, that judge is removed and the most unprecedentedly lenient judge is replaced. It's the replacement. like all these violations and nothing happened. And I felt worthless and unsafe and not protected. And I remember sitting there as the presiding juror stands up. She's got her form and she's about to read the verdict. And I just remember I sat down and I just buried my head. Like I was going like this, but then I started just going like this. And in my mind, I was just preparing myself for a letdown. And I knew that like for the next few seconds, I could be at peace that we tried, but it would be over in a few seconds. And I just wanted to hold on to those moments. And I just buried my head in my lap and covered my ears because I just couldn't look and I couldn't listen. And then the presiding juror, she got up and they let us know that they came to a unanimous decision that we won. And then they told us what the damages were. And I won't go over what the economic, non-economic, future, past, there's all these numbers and everything. I'll just kind of give you the sum. But the total damages for myself, they awarded me from each of the 4 defendants. Like there wasn't like one defendant who didn't owe one of the plaintiffs. All 4 defendants owe each plaintiff, the 3 of us, a different sum. The total damages for me was $20,450,047. They owe my brother $17,915,355. They owe Fendel, the 3rd plaintiff, $2,119,700. Sorry. Then the judge makes a note that every single juror was on time every single day for 3 weeks. And you have to remember too, a lot of these people had to drive so far to get there, had to take buses, had to like leave work, like important jobs, had families, had pets, had so much going on in their lives, and they didn't know if it was going to be a 2-day trial. They didn't know it was going to be 3 weeks. They didn't know it was going to be the most traumatic thing like ever. And they still showed up every single day, which was the least the defendants could have done, like it was incredible. Okay, so now we got to prepare for the punitive trial, which is very short and it'll be the very next day. But before that happens, we have to talk about the financial documents that the Drizzes still haven't handed over. So we bring up the fact that there's an illegal trust fund, the Annabella Nicole Trust. That's Jessica Alba's assistant, longtime friend to this day, and the daughter of Alberto. That he didn't hand over any of the documentation for that trust for the punitive trial. That was court ordered. He hasn't complied. And my attorney speaks up, and he made a mistake again. He argued for the defense by mistake that it's an irrevocable trust, which means you can't touch it. But the judge clocked him really quick and was like, no, it's clearly revocable. I looked into it. So did I. Thank God. And so he says, oh, yes. It's deliberately hidden, which is a fraudulent conveyance. My attorney said that about Annabella. So I will be talking later, too, about how we're going to go after her about that. And now it's time to just call some stuff out. Maurice Drizz says, you know what? I have to see my oncologist tomorrow. I'm not coming tomorrow. I got to call the accountant. He had a problem with COVID. He's not producing my records, all these excuses. You're not going to find any evidence there. You won't. And the judge says, how much time? Okay, the judge says, Mr. Drizz, your total disrespect and disregard of anything asked by this court is not lost on the court. And do I believe you? No. If you don't want to come tomorrow, you don't have to. The presumption is against you now. It has shifted. The jury has spoken. Yes, they have. Okay, let's get to the next part.